We are so excited that you're joining us for this first video in our Fifth Sunday video series. We're excited that across all of our campuses today, there are foster and adoptive families who are gathering and who are just going to get some great wisdom that we can share with you. My wife Kelly and I have our own adoption story and our own journey, and we've worked with foster and adoptive parents in lots of different settings and helped them with some different skills and different strategies that they've needed in their own families. And so we hope that through these videos, we can share some of those ideas with you. We can give you some tools to use in your own family to work on some things and do some things in your own family. But more importantly, we want you to learn from each other. Hopefully you're in a group today and that group will have some great ideas that you guys can share and learn from as well. You know, to kick off this series, we want to start with what we think is probably the core tenet for adoption and adoption families, and that's attachment. At its core, attachment is an enduring relationship that's built between parent and child. It's built over time, and it's built through experience. It's not a once thing, and it doesn't come and go. It's something that is built through relationships and through back and forth between parent and child. But what we know about attachment is that it is a core essential piece of any child's success and their development. It will impact their long-term relationships, it will impact their social values and skills, and it will impact their ability to have relationships with other people in the future and to be successful in life. And so it's a core piece of what we need to establish in our homes as adoptive homes.
Most likely, the foster or adopted child in your home has had some kind of early childhood experience that disrupted their attachment cycle. We want to make sure that we're addressing these disruptions so that we can figure out how to nurture attachment to that child to let them feel comfortable and safe in your home and heal those wounds that they have. We want to make sure that we first unpack what the attachment cycle is. Attachment actually starts in utero. An infant actually in utero can respond to the noises that the mother hears, can respond to the feelings that the mother feels. We know that after a baby is born, we can kind of see the attachment cycle play out. If a child is hungry or wet or maybe scared or startled during a nap or a bedtime, we see a child start crying. When a child starts crying, the brain actually releases these stress hormones, cortisol and other hormones that indicate to the child that there's a need of survival. And it pushes that child to actually cry more, cry harder to get the attention of the caregiver. So when these hormones are let out, the child starts screaming because if the child doesn't scream loud enough, they actually think that they are going to die. So a need is presented, whether it be food or safety, and the caregiver has to come and meet that need. Once that need is met, the brain actually releases some inhibitory hormones, which actually decreases the level of cortisol that's released, makes the baby relax, feel comfort, feel safe, and it actually then brings that baby back knowing that their need that was presented is met, they're safe. That baby then starts the attachment to the caregiver that met that need. We know that this cycle of attachment, a child presenting a need, a caregiver responding to that need, and then the child feeling safe and comforted. This cycle is experienced over and over throughout life. As infants, as toddlers, adolescents, teenagers, this is a lifelong journey of attachment that children experience over and over.
Yeah, this is the core piece of as children come into our home as adoptive families, as foster families, that building that attachment cycle is really important. So we want you to take a few minutes with your group, with your table, and just talk for a little bit about where you've seen the attachment cycle grow in your own home. So with the families that you're a part of, the kids that have come into your home, whether adopted or biological, talk for a few minutes about how you've seen attachment start and grow with the children in your own homes. All right, what Kelly was describing earlier in the attachment cycle is what happens in an ideal world. But what we know about the kids in our own homes is that that probably wasn't the situation that they were in. that unfortunately that attachment cycle, the expression of the need, the caregiver response, and then the relaxation that comes afterward when the caregiver responds to the need, that didn't happen for a lot of kids that have come into our homes through foster and adoption experiences. And so that attachment cycle where the excitatory hormones, the cortisol and the stress hormones release, if a caregiver doesn't respond, there's no inhibitory hormones to respond. And so kids can live with very high levels of cortisol, very high levels of stress response in their bodies that they're constantly living with. So even though a kid might look calm and might look relaxed, under the surface, they are literally on edge because this cycle has been repeated and has never been resolved for them. And so kids at an early age can have that response and have that situation. For kids like this, they can respond in lots of different ways. Some of them with attachment issues will respond with issues of control. They want to control the environment around them, control the schedule, control others and other people so that they can keep life stable and be in control of their environment, in control of who they are and what's going on around them. Others will develop all kinds of coping mechanisms to keep people at a distance, to be reserved, aloof, to kind of standoffish from others so that they can not have to trust on others to respond in that attachment cycle. Some others will respond to that cortisol in a whole different way. And the excitement, the adrenal response of that cortisol, heightened cortisol, is something they're going to seek and they're going to go after. And so we see kids that look for thrill-seeking behaviors and other kinds of things in order to keep that cortisol and that adrenaline high. And so all these kids are responding very differently. They're presenting very differently, but they're all responding in a core to attachment, which is rooted in their kind of early childhood experiences in most cases.
So it's really important just to remember that attachment is a lifelong journey. You don't have one moment of attachment and then just move on. It's like saying you have a wedding and then a perfect relationship. You don't. It's something that you have to work on. Again, attachment is small moments over the lifetime relationship between you and your child. There's going to be seasons where nurturing attachment is easier than others. While attachment does include and involve both parent and child, it's the parent's responsibility to initiate nurturing attachment with your child. You have to be the one that takes the first step. So let's talk a little bit about some signs that a child is not securely attached to a parent. Again, this is a lifelong journey. So a child who may have shown signs of attachment, but in a new season of development of their lives, may be showing some warning signs. Some of these signs can be distress. That could be maybe hoarding food, moments of uncontrollable rage that seem to come out of absolutely nowhere. It could be a persistent fear of being alone or abandoned. Maybe the child doesn't really want to be close to you, doesn't want to be close to anyone, doesn't care to please you. You know, we see little kids always want to kind of show off to their mom and dad and please them. Maybe a child's not showing that sign. That could be or may be a sign that attachment is broken and we need to focus in and nurture that a little bit more. We also have to examine whether or not a parent is attached to their child. Some warning signs that you may want to consider if you're experiencing these. If you don't like your child and you have no desire to be around that child, that may be a sign that it's time to go ahead and seek help, that you may not be attached to that child. If you're sitting there and you think, I don't like my child, I really don't want to be around my child. Maybe you've had fantasies about having an illness that would prohibit you from being the primary caretaker of your child, and that brings relief to you. That may actually be a sign that you are not fully attached to your child. If you're sitting there and you realize that some of these signs are prevalent or evident in your own family, please know that you are not alone. That Blaine and I are here to rally around you, that parents have encountered this before you and will encounter it after you, and there are professionals, there are people that want to rally around you and love you through this. What we want you to know is that you can contact or talk to any of the leaders that we have in the foster care and adoption ministry here, or you can contact Blaine directly, and we'll be sure to talk you through things, love you through it, not judge you through it, and connect you with professionals that can really help bring healing and wholeness into your family.
Yeah. We're going to talk in another minute in just the next section. We're going to talk more about some strategies on how to work on attachment with kids at different age levels. But we want to pause for another minute and just let you talk with your group and talk with your tables a little bit just about attachment. How has it looked for you? How has it worked for you as a family? When it has been hard and when has it felt easier at different times? And so just talk for a few minutes together in a group about those moments of attachment, when it was easy and when it was harder. And then we'll come back together and chat one more time. So we've talked a little bit about the attachment cycle, about how it works when it works well, about what happens when that attachment cycle breaks down, and some of the challenges that both our children face and the challenges that we face in coming together and attaching with our children. What we want to talk about in this last section, though, is really just some tips and tools, some strategies for how do you work on attachment with your kids in your home. We're going to unpack that a little bit. For babies and toddlers, for younger kids, it can feel a little bit easier to work on attachment because in a lot of sense, what we're doing is we are responding where the previous caregivers didn't. We're simply closing the gap in those attachment cycles. So for small infants, for little kids that come into our home, we're the ones that should be responding. When they cry and they need a bottle, we're there immediately, we're there for the diaper, we're there for all those things. But I think there's really kind of two caveats that I would give to this. One is make sure that you're the one that's coming. So if you've got a new placement, a new child coming into your home, if you're getting home with an international adoption, those grandparents and aunts and uncles and friends and neighbors, everybody's going to want to be there. They're going to want to give you time off and hold that kiddo, but you really have to close in and nest and really make sure that you're securely attaching to that child. Because you want them to know that you are the one, that you and your spouse are the ones who are going to respond when they have a need and make that attachment bond felt early on. I'm going to then say the opposite thing. The flip side of that, though, is if you get a child into your home that's got a drug-related problem, that's got some issues and some challenges, some medical things going on, some significant needs that are happening, you also need to find some folks who can help give you a break. Some people that are going to come in and give you relief so that you have the stamina and the energy to respond as often as you can to that child in your home. You know, as a child grows and is beyond that kind of infancy stage, but is also becoming a toddler, then there's some other things that you can do to kind of still establish those attachment bonds. So making sure that you read with your child, that you rock, that you're getting lots of physical touch, eye contact, just lots of connection. You know, in that original attachment cycle, when you're holding a child and you're feeding them and caring for them, you're getting lots of eye contact and lots of connection with that child. If you can create new moments to do that with a child, that's really important. One of the best ways to do that is probably just put your phone down so that you can actually be there with your child to connect with them. One of the other things that you can do is teaching children as they get older is to do some things that are responsive things back and forth. So ways that you can give care and receive care from one another. So for example, just putting suntan lotion on before you go outside, or just lotion in general. Or maybe it's giving each other Band-Aids. When you get hurt, ask a child for a Band-Aid. Let them put it on you. It's a way that you can show how to receive care, how to respond to that, and how to give care too in that same moment. I think one of the most important things you can do for younger kids is just say yes. Say yes to everything and anything that you can say yes to. If you can say yes, that child knows that you're going to respond. Even when it's not a need and it's just a want, they just want you to come play with them. They just want you to do something and it doesn't really fit your schedule or your routine. Say yes anyways and break your schedule and your routine, because now the child knows that you're going to respond to them, that you're going to be the one that answers when they really do have a need.
So for kids that are older, there are lots of ways that you can start making that connection and nurturing attachment with them. Let's talk about preschool and elementary kids. The biggest thing, honestly, for any child in your home, put your phone down. Check your phone in at the door. You can have moments. This is a wonderful way to actually teach kids how to manage their technology. But they need your undivided attention. Be physically and mentally present with your kids. Don't miss those moments. Other ways to do for preschool, elementary, play Play-Doh. Sit there, the kids' hands are busy. They're getting some great tactile and proprioceptive input there. But just play with them. Let them do it. They'll also probably ask you for help to open a can or to smush down the Play-Doh. That's meeting a need, saying, absolutely, I can do that. When they cut a shape, you can affirm them. That is amazing. You did so good. Find those moments and opportunities that you can affirm what they're doing. Give them positive reinforcement. Make a memory that is lasting for that child. Play outside together. Don't just watch the kids play. Play with them. Play a game. Let them create a game that you play. Let them take the lead and say, hey, I want to play tag, or I want to play hide and seek. And then follow their lead. For adolescents and teens, take an active interest in their hobbies. This may be something that you have no interest in yourself, but if your kid is showing interest, go all in. Learn about the video game that they're doing or the sports that they're involved in. Don't just be their chauffeur, but talk to them. Take the opportunity to talk about those hobbies and their interests. Blaine mentioned eye contact. Anytime that you can make eye contact with a child, make sure that you don't miss that opportunity. When a teenager walks into the room or an adolescent walks into the room, make sure you look up and smile. Try to make eye contact with them and let them know that their presence actually makes you happy and excited, that you want to be with them. Work around the house together, build something together. All of these things, again, it creates those time together that you can affirm what they're doing, give them positive feedback, learn a new skill, create a new memory that you're developing with those kids. We've given you a worksheet today that is not exhaustive. They're just some tips on different activities that you can do with children at different ages and stages of development to help nurture attachment. We hope that these things can kind of just be a springboard for you formulating healthy and positive relationships in your home.
Yeah, this is definitely not an exhaustive conversation about attachment, and it may not answer all the questions for you and your family. In fact, it may raise a lot of questions for you. I want you to know that we're here as a resource for you. Your leaders are here. There's lots of great resources in our community to get access to counselors and other groups that can help you work through some of these things if this is something that's serious and going on in your home. We're going to take a few minutes, and I want you just to, again, huddle up back with your table, with your group, and talk a little bit more about some of the tips and strategies that we shared, or look through that worksheet, see some other things that pop out to you that you maybe have never tried before, or share some things with your own group that have really worked in your family. We hope that you'll learn some things from each other and kind of get to know each other and each other's families. We'll take a few minutes and talk about that, and then in a couple minutes, the leader of your group is going to come back and kind of share and close you guys in prayer. So I hope that you've been with us today and have gotten a lot of great things out of this topic, and we hope to see you again in a couple months. Thanks.